World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM New York.
Good afternoon. This is Tony Rogers, your host for Urbanology, the Art of War. I hope all is well on this white, in the morning anyway, the white Christmas Eve. Haven't had a white Christmas in some time, but nevertheless, it's a little warmer, which is the most important thing on me. I don't mind the different seasons. However, being a June baby, I always prefer warmth than cold. But again, we're about ready to enter a new year. I have to, at some point, have Lord Strayhorn come on the show. It would be great if I can get him for the 31st, but I'm not sure. Everybody's trying to reach out to Lord Strayhorn, so that might be difficult. However, I interviewed my next guest on the WCR radio show maybe about a year, 2 years ago, and she told me something that I was not aware of. But ever since that interview, I have talked about swing dancing and Lindy Hop every time I can get a chance, even writing about it in many cases. And the reason is that the swing dance or the Lindy Hop craze started in Harlem, but everybody throughout the world they are doing this dance still, except for people in Harlem who don't know about it. Barbara Jones has been dedicated to keeping that dance alive, and she, has classes and different events that come up to honor swing dancing, even though they're doing a lot of it downtown, which she'll talk to you about. But for some reason, the origin of swing dance in the Lindy has escaped many in Harlem, but it's growing. So I'd like for you to meet Miss Barbara Jones, the founder of the Swing Dance, the Harlem Swing Dance Academy. How are you doing, Barbara?
I'm okay. Thank
And
you.
and as I said before, the last it wasn't last, it was some time ago. Because I think I might have took the class almost a year over at
Kennedy
uh,
Center.
the Kennedy Center, just because I just felt it was important since I have an ability to talk to people in the media, whether it's newspaper or Soul City and radio, to make sure that people in Harlem know about this dance that's done all around the world, but for some reason has escaped Harlem. But Barbara, before we get into swing dance, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what road led you to developing the Harlem Swing Dance Society?
Sure. I'm a native New Yorker. Always like going. I first got introduced to it was in high school. Instead of a gym class, we got a chance to take this dance. And I had seen it on TV and movies, certain clips. So I was happy to learn. But then after that, it was like, well, what's going on, because people weren't doing it. But then I found out about this place called Midsummer Night's Swing down by Lincoln Center, and they were doing it there. So that caught my attention. And through that, I learned that someone was doing classes in Harlem. I started taking classes, but what I noticed was we always had to go downtown to social dance. There was nothing going on in Harlem. There was nothing being seen in the schools or being talked about. So a few people got together with myself and we saw the loophole and we said, let's establish a nonprofit in Harlem to promote and protect and propagate this dance and reintroduce it and have it grow in the area. Plus, to find a location in Harlem to teach and also to have social dances. In other words, bring attention to it. And that slowly and surely, steadily has been happening, thanks to the community.
Well, you know, I believe you had some entertainers in your family in some form or fashion. I never really got the full story. You
Um,
share?
Entertainers, not
No.
really. Well, one is Eartha Kitt, but she's a distant cousin. No one connected with Lindy Hop. No.
You know, the reason why I did hear that because I had a friend. I used to live on Convent Avenue, and God, I believe his name was Billy, but he was the godson of Eartha Kitt. And when she would come to Convent Avenue, all of the kids would be running up to Billy's house because she used to have presents and gifts and money and all of that stuff. Uh, but it's interesting. She was an advocate. A lot of people didn't know that. She did a lot of stuff with a lot of political groups that sometimes kept her name off some of the charts. She was
Mm.
almost blacklisted, just like many in that era who did those things. But that's what came to mind. I knew it was something, but that came to mind. But tell us a little history about the origin of the Lindy in Harlem.
Well, the elders told us that they saw this dance in other places, in the country, down south and other places. But when jazz was getting hot and then the ballrooms started opening, the larger ballrooms, that's where the dance really got popular and perfected. The first one was Shorty George and his group with the Savoy Ballroom. So it
Mm-hmm.
got really popular there. And also, it was filmed. They were in a couple of films. And the biggest thing was the Harvest Moon Ball Dance Contest of the 1930s. Those were filmed and in the old Madison Square Garden, and that brought attention to the dance. But it was a jazz dance originally. Um, Jazz and jazz dance definitely went together, the popular music of the day.
Well, when I was taking your class, again, I think that was at one point I was probably the only U.S. person in the classroom. I think even the teacher was from Prague. Um,
Yes. Mhm.
but the story, from my understanding, was during World War II, jazz was kind of the Germans kind of made that an illegal type of entertainment. And the swing dance became popular because it was like a resistance. You know, the people, if the Germans said it was bad, it must be good. So that, and with many of the jazz groups coming to Europe and playing and the like, but that allowed for, which I learned actually taking the class, that just about any place in Europe that you go, you can find somebody someplace teaching swing dance, or Lindy Hop as they call it.
Yes, I just came back from Italy, and in Italy they had an event, and there were plenty of Europeans. There was about 15 different countries represented from Europe, and they love the dance, they love the culture, and for the most part, they have a respect for it. They
And
know that they're visitors within the culture.
which is interesting. And if I remember correctly, is one step back, two to the left, and two to the right, and then combine that into all kinds of different things. It was funny because uh, in my younger years, we used to do, Latin was the thing, and some of the moves I was learning, and then I would get flashbacks, and I was turning like I was at the Palladium, you know. But it's interesting, and when I went to Ghana, they were doing dance. A lot of our dances, especially you said it started in the South, a lot of those dances have flavors of the dances that was done in Africa. And
Mhm.
there were two things that I noticed. One, they had a dance. Remember the bump when people used to bump? There's a dance in Ghana that they was doing the bump, and they were doing something like the swing dance piece with the foot went back, and then they went to the left, and then they went to the right. So there's a lot of culture in this dance, and I am happy that I was able to get into your orbit because it is interesting, and I like to represent. Matter of fact, not only the U.S., there were times in the class I was the only black person from Harlem that was in the class. So, in many cases, I felt like I had to represent. To start to
Yes.
understanding and learning what this is about. But you told me that they do it downtown a lot. Is that still happening?
Oh, yes. It's a big community downtown, and every night of the week, sometimes two, three spots, you can dance to traditional jazz, and there's Lindy Hop going on,
Hmm.
or swing dancing. The original name is Lindy Hop, but it came to be called swing dancing because the music swung and because they changed the name. It wasn't necessarily black people, it was other people.
that made it swing dance? Or
Yes,
made
that's
it Lindy
called a
dance?
swing dance. But
Yeah.
interestingly enough, down in Texas, they have something called Texas Swing, and
Mhm.
you see elements of the Lindy Hop and swing dancing. Same for Philadelphia, Philly Bop, Detroit, Detroit Bop,
And
DC, DC hand
it's
dance.
funny
All
because
dance cousins, really. We're all related.
yeah, because I remember at the museum, the jazz museum, there was an event, and you had some people there, and I forget the gentleman's name, but he had won a few of the contests at
Mhm.
the Harvest Ball, and someone was from California, and he said, "Nah, there's a rivalry between the different the different states as to who's doing the original dance and who's doing something else." But again, it's still not as popular as you would think it would be, and definitely not as popular as it is in many of the European countries. You have put together, and I know that there are a lot of groups that put together swing dance events. And you had told me about a couple that took place. Matter of fact, even the Renaissance Hotel, which we're still talking about doing something in the Renaissance Hotel because it's such a wonderful fit. But you have a couple of events coming up. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things
Yes.
you're planning?
Yes, we try to do things in the community for the community. So to bring awareness and to get the community involved, so they don't have to travel far. On December 28th, this coming Saturday, we're going to be at Riverbank State Park, and we're going to have a end of year bash. So we're going to have traditional or hot swing jazz music played with Patience Higgins. And after that, we're going to have a dance party where you'll be able to dance any way you'd like. We won't be throwing people in the air. It's going to be a lot of different music for the community. Again, showcasing Lindy Hop, but not playing traditional jazz during the last 2 hours. It will be a variety of music.
Well, what was interesting was during the class. What's the teacher's name? I keep forgetting that taught
Mr. Milo.
Milo. He
Yes.
would play James Brown, and once you get the steps, you could dance off anything, which inspired me because trying to get young people more interested in it, I realized that you can do that on any music. Once you get the steps, and get the swings there, you can do it. You don't have to necessarily do the swing dance with uh,
Only
swing
jazz.
jazz.
Right.
You could do it with any. You could do it on James Brown. So
Right.
that
20th and 21st century music you can Lindy Hop and swing to.
which is another thing that every time I have an opportunity, I talk about the things that you're doing. Now, you're still doing the classes at the Kennedy Center on Tuesdays, I believe, right?
Yes, we return January 7th, and the classes are free. As a nonprofit, we do accept donations, which help us. Um, and we're trying to do things, again, for the community that's affordable. People can enjoy themselves. All ages are welcome.
Now, give the address for the 28th again. I know we said it's at Riverbank, but exactly where at Riverbank?
Riverbank State Park is at 679 Riverside Drive at West 145th Street. Uh,
And I know if you're parking, you can go down.
yeah, in
Uh,
their garage. They do
they
have
have
a garage.
a garage, which is you when you go, I think it's on 130 something street that you make a right, and you go right into under the L or whatever that is, and then you can just take the elevator or the steps up to the Riverbank Park.
Well,
And
there's also a jitney that takes you from the garage to the front door of the
oh, okay,
Riverbank Center.
that's
And
good.
Yes, and 3 buses go there also, 1 from the Bronx and 2 in Manhattan.
Which one's
So,
in Manhattan?
the numbers I can't recall offhand.
I have to Google that.
Sorry, but you can Google it.
Yeah, because many people know at 145th Street going into the riverbank, there's a lot of different activities. I believe they're ice skating now, and in the summer there are picnics and concerts and the like. But what other plans do you have in 2025 to keep this legacy going?
Well, we plan to do more performances. We're going to be part of Harlem Is on January 11th at the Harlem Hospital, to do some activities there with them with a short tour and an interactive program that we have for January 11th with them.
Mm.
Um, and as the weather gets warmer, and of course, Black History Month will also be in the area at Jackie Robinson Park, but we'll be inside, just like at Riverbank, we'll be inside on the 28th. I believe it's February 7th. We're going to be at Jackie Robinson Park inside doing a program. And, more will come. And we're excited and happy to work with the community.
You have a website where people can go to.
The website is being worked on again.
Okay.
But we have a popular Facebook page, the Harlem Swing Dance Society. And you
So
can find out the latest information there.
are you on Instagram?
Yes, and we are on Twitter or X, but our Facebook page is the most popular. That's where we generally put the latest information.
And that's the Harlem Swing Dance Society.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you have become aware of as you travel? I know you were in Italy, but you do a lot of traveling and you see different cultures doing the dance. What are some of the things that has inspired you based on those travels and that knowledge?
From what I see in the city and what I see abroad, there's an appreciation. There's people who just come out for fun and dance, but then there's those who want to look into the history and really respect it. And they're very zealous about keeping a hold of it in their area. And that's a contrast to Harlem, but certain things have happened in Harlem over the years why it didn't hold on or stick like it could have. But it's slowly building back up, and that's the exciting thing, seeing people who really appreciate it and want to see it, even at some senior homes we've been in. But as I make travels in the Black areas, I see that they have their form of partner dancing. Like I mentioned, DC has hand dance. Philadelphia has the Philly Bop. And when you hear those names called, you already know it's an urban Black African American dance that people are holding on to and they're proud of. And they adapt their dance to new music.
I mean, at one time, the hustle, I think, was the last real urban partner dance that people were doing. That was some time ago. That was, when I was a teenager, a couple of light years from now. So that is another element that I was able to experience when I was at the class. Dancing with a partner and learning with a partner creates a certain type of a relationship, because you got to start doing things in sync, and you have to, understand what your partner is going to do, so that, or your partner has to, if you're the leader, the partner has to understand what you're going to do, and that brings on, because all of the people that I met in the class became friends. Matter of fact, there were times where we used to go to, there was a young lady who was interested because she was the real first person that did the triathlon. She was, a very athletic young lady, and we would after we finished the class, we would go and we would talk, and different people would give their history as far as doing the dance. So it's and actually there was I think it was a Chinese or Asian. I mean, I was shocked of the different cultures that have taken on this Lindy Hop. A lot of people backed away, even myself, when I heard that there were classes. I was saying, "No, I'm not going to be doing all of that jumping up and all of that stuff." But that's something that is done in the movies, and they used to actually do that. I remember my mom; they used to go to the Savoy and the Renaissance. The stories that I would hear anyway, I wasn't there, and they would carry their sneakers. They would have their sneakers on, and that was their exercise. And it is a good exercise. It's a good workout too. When I was taking the classes, I would feel it when I and I would we weren't doing any flips or anything, but just going through the motions because there's so many different variations of what you can do. It's a good workout. What are the times for your classes? And I think that I saw that I might have the signal with Barbara might have left. I know that if I'm not mistaken, if it has not changed, and hopefully she'll get back, it was an hour class between 7 and 8, and the Kennedy Center is it's an enclave on 135th Street, uh, next to the Lincoln. Well, we used to call it the bathhouse, but it was a Hansborough Center. But if you're walking towards Fifth Avenue on 135th Street, on the right hand side going east, you'll see an enclave, and you'll see Robert F. Kennedy Center. It's obviously something that I think is important for for people to at least know about because it's a part of history, and for something that was developed in your community. Um, it's, in my view, something to take pride of and ownership of. Dancing and music has always been uh, a common denominator to bring people together. Uh, I just came from Ghana at a cultural oneness festival, which used the same thought pattern, is that music, uh, if it's good music, can go over and pass over any of the stereotypes or the mindset that we sometimes have based on ignorance of another culture or another tradition of people. But music is that great equalizer, as mentioned before. Um, there are two reasons why swing dance became very popular in in Europe. One was because the Germans uh, made doing that type of music or jazz in and of itself uh, illegal. And the other reason was that during the 20s and the 30s, musicians that we now look at as being famous, the Louis Armstrongs and the Eartha Kitts and many of the famous musicians would go to Europe because they couldn't really get the attention and the credit and the employment as far as gigs in the US, but people in Europe loved them. And that's where basically a lot of the relationship between jazz, up until even with the Beatles. I mean, the Europeans have always been, or many of the Europeans, I should say, uh, always had this love for the African American, Caribbean American beat. And many of the famous groups during the 60s and 70s, like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and the like, and even Elvis Presley, they used black music as a foundation for their success. And I know Barbara, I hope she can come back on, but if not, we'll have her on again because we can't talk about this too much. I mean, there are so many different um, ideas and concepts that come with this traditional Harlem dance that we just don't take advantage of. And with the network that I have, I will always try to promote the Harlem Swing Dance Society because I think that they're doing a very good job of keeping that concept alive. We tend to not always hold the things that are right next to us with the great value as sometimes others do, especially in our culture. And this is something that I think is important. There's a lot of stories behind it. If you Google Lindy swing dance, you learn a lot of interesting information. And you had to be an athlete. I think some of the, especially at the Savoy, they did things that were incredible. And can you imagine being in a place that they would sometimes be three bands in this large space, and each one would be playing something different, and you would walk to one, and they would dance. And you would walk to another, and you would dance. It was a tremendous time. That's when Harlem had a number of different ballrooms and places for entertainment. Uh, as they say, the joints were jumping. Many people from downtown would come uptown just to really appreciate the culture. To the fact that at some point, like the Cotton Club, many people from Harlem, it took a while before they were even able to go into the Cotton Club. They had black performers, but the patrons were not. So there's a lot of history. And what I think I'll do is that it seems that Barbara may be having some difficulties. Black History Month, I think, would be a good time to revisit this concept about this traditional dance of Harlem that has become international, and to kind of keep that flame burning. But if you want to learn more about the dance, you can go to um, the Facebook page, Harlem Swing Dance Society, and find out about the different events that are taking place as well as the classes. There will be an activity the 28th of December. I believe that's next Saturday, this Saturday coming actually. And you'll be able to see people doing this tremendous dance. It's a lot of fun. And as 2025 comes into place, there will be other opportunities for you to come watch and learn how to do this traditional Harlem dance, a dance that originated in Harlem that has become an equalized sense of togetherness throughout the world, which historically is but one more thing as relates to the many different things that have developed in Harlem that has become international. So again, we are closing for 2024. I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. If all goes well, we have one more show for this year. I haven't talked with the Soul City crew to see whether or not we're going to be on the 31st, but nevertheless, soon in we'll let you know. But if I don't get a chance to see you uh, before the new year, I wish you a very happy one. And one last note, the Kwanzaa Film Festival starts on the 26th at the Schomburg, and they will have films leading all the way up until the end of Kwanzaa throughout the Harlem area. And they will be very interesting films, but the beginning of it will be on the 26th at the Schomburg, and there will be a number of other Kwanzaa activities taking place. So stay tuned. We'll talk about as much as we can when we can, and we hope that you enjoy the remainder of 2024 and look forward to having a healthy and prosperous 2025. So this is Tony Rogers signing off, and hopefully we'll see you again before the year ends. If not, we'll see you next year. Take care.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM New York.